The Indiana Fever handled their business by winning by 20 points, 108 to 88 yesterday against the Liberty. I know the Liberty were shorthanded without some key players like Satu and Phoebus, as you can see on the screen here. Caitlin Clark struggled in this game, even though it was not one of her best performances. She still had 7 assists, made a couple of key 3-pointers in the fourth quarter to keep that lead at 18 and above. And overall, it was a slow start to say the least. They were down, I believe it was 15-4. There was some interesting substitutions by Stephanie White where she took out Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark and just had Kelsey Mitchell out there with a bench group. And I was just thinking to myself, understand they're trying to manage Caitlin Clark's minutes. The night before that, she had that spectacular game and she's come back from the back injury, trying to ramp her up. But I do want to see going forward more minutes played between Mitchell, Clark, and Boston, because if you're trying to get in the best playoff position and build the chemistry, have more reps, just want to see those three out together on the court more often than not going forward. And they don't have a tough schedule coming up in the next 3-4 games. You have the All-Star break as well, so it's going to give Caitlin Clark more rest. But I'm just glad they handled business yesterday. They just destroyed the Liberty. They had their struggles with the Liberty zone, and that's something they got to clean up, in my opinion. As you can see here, Kelsey Mitchell had just a phenomenal game. 33 points, 10 of 14 from the field, 4 of 6 from three. So the 3 turnovers, but just a phenomenal game from her. Aaliyah Boston, 15 points, 6 of 11 from the field. She's just a steady hand out there for the Fever. Has 7 rebounds, 4 assists, did have the 5 turnovers, but again, I still think the Fever are slowly ramping back up. You know, we know the Clark situation with Alyssa Thomas caused a ton of controversy. Clark missed a few games from that. I just think if they can get in sync together and continue to handle their business, because the schedule is light for the Fever coming up, they can get in a great playoff position and make a run at the WNBA finals. I do think they're that talented. Lexi Hall had 8 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, had 2 steals. Yeah, Sophie Cunningham off the bench, 11 points, 3 of 6 from the field. Hit all, not all, but 3 or 4 from 3. She just handled her business. Just a great spark plug. You have Harris here with 11 points, 4 of 8 from the field. The bench did their part. And again, I just like the fact that the Fever, coming off a emotional win, I would say, because Caitlin Clark responded in a spectacular way after all the criticism and the struggles she was having. But remember, she has come back from the injury from Alyssa Thomas, and she performed. And for them to just not take this game lightly, they could have after the slow start. Kudos to them. They had that great third quarter, and they just handled business from there. I want to go over some clips from the game yesterday. As you see, Kelsey Mitchell here has an ankle breaker. Ooh, takes that 3. Again, slow start for the Fever, but they did pick it up as the game went on. Just Mitchell's nasty. And then you have here Caitlin Clark getting downhill. Boom. And 1, finishing through contact. That's encouraging, especially with her back injury. If she can get downhill and finish at the rim, that's just going to open up a lot of things for the Fever. Got Sophie Cunningham knocking down a 3 here, made 2 of them in the first quarter just to keep them within distance. And as you see Clark throw it into Boston. I'm telling you right now, if Mitchell and Boston and Clark can get on the same page, have their, reps up, because that's going to matter as you get deeper into the season and you're trying to go for a run to the finals and win it all. You need all 3 on the floor as much as possible. I know Clark had her injuries last year, but they're going to need these 3 at their best if they want to have a shot at going all the way. See the block here from Kiki with the, again, defense. So, yeah, I think what I'm seeing, I like the consistency. Clark had a great tough play here. She struggled. She has 7 turnovers. I think the zone did bother the Fever. That's something they got to work on, because teams will use that to really slow down their offense. Again, Lexi Hall, steady hand on defense, gets steals. And again, I can't say enough about Kelsey Mitchell. She is just on fire. Look at this. Tough, 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 tough. Great finish. You have Clark here, Mitchell backdoor. You want to see more of this, like Clark getting Mitchell with these backdoor cuts, because it's going to open up the offense. I don't like the idea of having Boston and Mitchell off the floor, or Boston and Clark off the floor and one of them out there. At least have 2 of them on the floor. It reminds me when Brown and Tatum played together, Joe Mazzulla would have at least Tatum out there or Brown out there at all times. He would rotate that. So if I'm Stephanie White, just have two of your big three out there. If you need to rest one, cool, I get it. I know they're trying to keep Clark on a minute restriction, but maybe in that spurt, I think Boston came out at the 3 minute mark. She was still there with Mitchell. Clark was already out around, I think, the 6 minute mark, if I'm not mistaken, the first quarter. What you could have done is you could have sat down Boston for 2 minutes, or maybe like the 7 minute mark, and then take Clark out the 5 minute and then bring Boston back in and play with Mitchell in those last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. And they give Boston another rest and have Clark come back in. So the rotations could be a little bit better, in my personal opinion. But overall, it's just good to see the Fever playing good basketball. And then just to look at their schedule coming up, I was looking at it recently. They have on Wednesday, so they get a nice little break, and that's good for Clark's health. They play the Sun, the Storm next Tuesday, so a lot of rest for Clark coming up. I do want to see her get to 30 minutes or more in one of these next two games, because after they play the Storm, they go play this, not the Sun, I already said that, the Fire, and that should be a winnable game. But on Sunday, they got to play the Lynx. And if you look at the schedule, there's a lot of days off. So I think it's a good idea for White to really ramp up Clark's minutes, because she's going to have the All-Star break. Maybe you play her 31 minutes coming up in the game against the Sun, or maybe you just want to keep it at minute restriction. But coming out of the All-Star break, Clark's minutes need to ramp up, because we need to see Clark, Boston, and Mitchell playing as much as possible together, and to make sure they're firing on all cylinders. Because if those three are playing at their best, the Fever are going to be dangerous. They had a taste of getting very close to WNBA finals with all the injuries. And if you have your big three firing on all cylinders and they're playing well, the Fever have a great shot to go all the way. So we'll see how it all plays out. Caitlin Clark had the 45 points on Friday. Kelsey Mitchell with 33 on Saturday. So we like to see both them continue their consistency. I know the turnovers, I want to see that go down for Clark, but again, back to back. So give us some grace. You could play better, but again, just get her ramped up, get them playing more on a regular basis. And I think the Fever are going to be in great shape. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Love to hear your thoughts about the Fever's recent 2 wins and handling business against the Liberty. Do you want to see Clark's minutes start to ramp up? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next one.